So what are we explaining? The last question, I'm not going to repeat the whole maamar. It's a very deep and evolved maamar, and it evolves from one question to the other. The basic question he's asking now is a very elemental, existential question. How does oneness produce division? How does this happen? It's like asking, how does goodness produce evil? It can't. If it's good, it's good. So what comes out of it, what it's going to produce, it will spawn, it will set in motion is going to be good. So specifically the question was addressed at Atzilus. Atzilus is the creative force. That's the 10 utterances the Mishnah speaks of in Pirkei Avos. They're the 10 spheres, the 10 times or 9 that Hashem says, let there be. What's the 10th?
On the spheres?
No, Basar Mamaris Nivra Eilam, but if you count, with 10 utterances the world was created, if you count how many times it says, let there be, Yehi Eir, and so on, it's 9, not 10. So what's Basar Mamaris? Bereshis Nami Maimerhu, the opening words. Bereshis is also one of the utterances. Not familiar. Okay, Bereshis, the Targum says, B'chuchmasa. Targum, translation, with chuchmasa, with chachma, which refers to chachma datzilus. It's the first sphere. So, why do you think it's not stated as the other 9, and God said? Playing games here. Start off with, and God said. Let there be a beginning. The other 9 are articulated as in Vayomer, Hashem, because Chachma is not articulated. Chachma is the potential for all existence. It's the whole point of Chachma it's the seed or the potential for the idea, for existence, for creation. It's embryonic, so therefore it's not articulated as in Vayomer, and he said, which is an articulated statement with letters and words. Chachma transcends letters and words. It's the spark from which everything then follows. Hence, it's conveyed in the opening pasuk of Torah, Bereshis bara Elokim, Bereshis b'chuchmasa. Okay, so that's all the 10 spheres of Atzilus that create. Atzilus is Olam ha'achtus. It's God speaking. It's God creating. God is one. And all of Atzilus is a reflection of that. I'm going to ask you what this is meant by that. When Chassidus speaks about the distinction between Atzilus and Bria and Yitzir and Asiya, and there's a need to clarify the distinction because externally they're the same, they're the 10 spheres. Okay, on a lower level. What does it mean on a lower level? What's the fundamental difference between Atzilus and Bia? 10 spheres is higher, lower, that's the whole difference. That would be like a quantity difference. More light, less light. In the Kudah, what's the difference? It's
that in Bria there's already more present there. It really starts the idea that there could be something else, not something else in
where Bria.
Yeah, and it starts the idea that there could be
a
sense of otherness, a sense of self, feeling, in the words of.
All right, draw the distinction. There's 10 spheres in Atzilus, 10 spheres in Bria and in Asiya. What's the difference between where the 10 spheres manifest in Atzilus as to where they manifest in Bria, and certainly Yitzir and Asiya going down the chain of command, as it were? What's the difference?
Well, the way they manifest in Atzilus is it's clear. This is godliness and nothing but.
It's 10 spheres. This description is Gvul, Chesed, Chachma, Bina, Das.
It's clear what's the description. He is also the description. He is also.
And what's in Bia? It's not. What's Bia? not saying anything wrong, but a McGill student is still trying to understand what you're saying. Or, yesterday we introduced another guest at our shir. Was it yesterday or the day before? The Ben Torah. He's a Ben Torah, he's a Bakin Shas, and he's starting to learn Chassidus. And he doesn't fool himself when he learns Gemara. He's a real Talmud Chacham. He understands it. The prati, so he wants to understand. He has no background in Ruchnius at all, in matters of Elikus, so he wants to understand. So I gave a mashal once that it's helpful. I don't think everybody here has heard it, so it's worth repeating. Clearly, it's worth repeating. So the mashal is 4 people looking at a painting. It's the same painting. And they have 4 perceptions of what they're taken by looking at the painting. And they're all true. Okay, so the first person looks at the painting and he marvels at the kind of paint that's used. Whatever it is, there's different kinds of those in art and stand, acrylic, all kinds of the medium, the physical medium by which this is done. And he marvels at the physical construct of the painting. I'm talking about an extraordinary painting. It's hanging on the wall in the museum. And the 4 people are looking at this simultaneously, expressing their wonder and appreciation and the wow. The next one, the other person, looks at the painting, and he is now starting to sense the more spiritual dimension of the painting, the emotion that it evokes. It's a painting of a sunset, or whatever it is. Maybe actually a painting of an event of people. At any rate, whatever the painting happens to be, but there's an emotional response that it elicits within the viewer. A sense of calm or rage, depending on the painting. It's moved by the painting emotionally. The third person looks at the painting and marvels at the incredible skill of the painter, realizing that the great talent invested here, the education, as well as natural talent to produce such a work of art. And the fourth looks at the painting and sees the artist, not just his intelligence, his talent, but he sees the artist in the painting. He really gets a sense of who the artist is from the painting. That's a mashal for Asiya, Yitzira, Bria, and Atzilus. It's all the same painting, it's all the 10 spheres. But an Asiya, analogous to the physical, the mechanics of it all, mechanics of the divine, One step up, Yitzira, the divine emotion, midas, as it touches our emotion. An emotional relationship with God. I see as a practical relationship with the God. Yitzir is an emotional relationship with God. Bria is an intellectual relationship with God. And Atzilus is you. So in a marriage, all these things are concurrent and should be. You should appreciate what your wife does for you. You made the supper. And all the ingredients and time and effort that went to make the supper. As you're enjoying the supper, there's also this emotional, the love that you put into it. And then her mind that you thought about this, and the skill. You appreciate the detail, the nuance of the supper, and the intelligence invested in it. And then finally, what he appreciates most is that you did this, period. You did it. You didn't just invest your mind, your heart, and your hands in this. You invested yourself in this. He's looking at you. That's Atzilus. So Atzilus is all you, Elam Ha'achdos. Back to the question. One Eibishter, so how does this produce division? It's not division in Atzilus, it's all you. It's the Eibishter expressing himself. Yeah, there's 10 ways, but it's all you. It's not the ways that is, they found him, the ways, the Svidis themselves that captures one's attention, as it were, if he'd been Atzilus. It's not wow Chachma, wow Bina, wow Chesed, Das, etc. It's wow you. As you go down, then it's the wow is the appreciation, the attention is on the actual attributes and the production of what you did. Okay, that's the question. So the question again is, Atzilus is Elam Ha'achdos, and how does it produce division? Now, what would you answer to that? What would you answer to that? One word. First of all, just a Hebrew word. Tzimtzum. What's the big shaila here? There's a tzimtzum. What does tzimtzum mean? Means English word. In English words.
Hashem making a shadow or withholding on his presence.
Yeah, okay. Tzimtzum, he screened, veiled. But that doesn't answer our question. Screen and veil, so you'll produce less intense revelation, but you're not going to lose what's being revealed. That's the one God. You put a screen, but on the window there's different degrees of screens, and the light that comes through, so it's not so intense and brilliant. It's still light, doesn't become something else. Still light, filtered light, but still light. So how does the filter produce something that is not the original? And more than that, something opposed, contrary. Atzilus is Achdus and it's producing division. Something else, which is contrary, negates, it would seem, the source. Ilav Olol, the result can't negate, can't produce something that defies, rejects, contradicts the source. That's the shaila. It's an existential question. I mean, really, the big question is, how does a good God, why do bad things happen to good people? A good God, surely. How does bad things in the world? That's the extension of the question. He's just not going to deal with that really, not articulatedly, if there's such a word. But the emphasis, the foundation of what we learned here, will address that to a degree. So let's begin our journey. As we said yesterday, it's going to be a journey of anatomy, human anatomy. And the reason we're looking at human anatomy is because we're made in the image of God. Within my flesh, says David HaMelech, I behold God. So how does it work? V'yuvan behektem. Today's one of the shiurim. Do you hear it if you missed the shir? So you should, if you can. Again, as we looked yesterday, so let's start again. So there's the expanse between the waters, and separate between the waters. So this expanse, the sky separates between the waters above the expanse and below the expanse. What does this mean? Baruchnius. What's the inyonim bepnimius? What is it saying bepnimius? And that is inyan hamayim, which matzmichim kol mini tainug. So he establishes that water is the source of tainug. Water causes things to grow, all pleasurable things to grow. The more water, the more pleasurable. And many other associations with water and liquid. in connection with tainug, pleasure. ובזה גופה יש מים שמעל רקיע, so there's the supernal waters, מים עליונים, and שמהם באים התענוגים העליונים הרוחניים, that's the source of elevated spiritual pleasures, ויש מים שמתחת לרקיע, and then there's the water below the expanse, מים התחתונים. So this is going to be שמהם באים התענוגים התחתונים, from which comes the lower pleasures, other tanugim hagashmim, all the way down to physical pleasures, food and other sensual pleasures. So this rakia, that's what we're going to zero in on, is this rakia, this expanse that separates between them. We've already established now, what point is he made already now? He's talking about what? Talking about Tanugim, but what are we already getting now, a sense? We're trying to answer what question again?
How is division possible?
How is the vision, why not?
How could God oneness...
How does oneness produce division? So, it's externally there what? Externally, oneness and plurality and division are incompatible. They're opposites. So what are we already seeing now? When already started to say something here. The tainug.
You separated it, meaning it's the same thing.
Oh, there's one Indian here. There's a tainug alien, a tainug tachten. Externally, they're worlds apart. But Pneumias are not. It comes from one place. Let's continue. Mashkacha Pratis, yesterday I was told about something. It's going to be the story. Simchas Torah, Tavshin Yudalet, Shmini Atzeres at night, Simchas Torah at night. Tavshin Yudalet 70 years ago. What the Rebbe said. You'll hear, boys, hanging. I'll share it with you. Okay, I distracted you now. Now you can not think of the Maimon anymore.
We're also still waiting for the Mendel and Gorelick picture. He said it? What happened?
Ephraim has a long list of things you said.
That's not such a secret because Rabbi Yoel actually, I'll just tell you, I'm not going to tell you now the whole pratim, but I asked Rabbi Yoel then, if in his chazor he forgot to say something that the Rebbe said. Something murder to get the verbrengen. And so I was bugging him. He agreed. Got up there. I can send you the clip. He says he says what the Rebbe said. But then after I wasn't satisfied. I wanted him to explain it to the Olam. That he wasn't really going to do anymore. There was already enough. That picture, I'm not sure whether it's the first or I think it's already the second time. I remember there was two discussions. First one, he said, okay, got to back up to the microphone, and he said, Ingeman pointed out he's going to. It is Chodesh Kislev, Chodesh Kislev, maybe Tavshin. No, I don't know, like the later years. I think Mendel was on my side, he knows us, but you barely didn't want. They certainly found it humorous, that's for sure. Okay. So now, so the Rakia, so the Rakia separates between the upper tainug and the lower tainug. B'loshen hazoy nikra parsa hamafsekes. Parsa means a curtain, a veil that divides between one place and the other. Be'etzem, it's one place. It's just divided. You hear the word. The division is in one thing. So already we're getting a sense of there's no plurality, but pnimius. Misdirected, but really one thing. You'll hear the story, Meidedik, which I'll share with you. Now anatomy, human anatomy. Kemoshel hakoved, like the liver, shemafsik. No, sorry, chatzar hakoved. There's two names. It's called Yitzeres hakoved. The what did you say was yesterday?
Lobe?
In the siddur, they
The lobe?
The lobe of the liver. I give another term. It's sometimes called chatzar, whatever that means. The courtyard. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what that means. But it's physically there's these on top of the liver. There is another entity, which is not the liver itself. And shemavsik, what's its function? You can look it up to find it, some more scientific explanation. But it separates between the organs of the lung, of breath, which are the higher organs of the body, and the organ, the stomach, the digestive organs. So, what are you getting right away here? There's the higher organs, that's analogous to the Tainugim Ruchniim, breath, neshama, and then there's the lower organs. And what separates them is the rakia. What's the rakia within the person? The chatzar hakoved or yiseres hakoved. Yeah, clear? Now he's going to explain this process. Tehine evore ha'ikol, the digestive organs, sheklalusa, next page, hey makravayim, which in general it's the stomach. What's the point of digestion? Pelosim hu lefader is a meichel, their pula, their effect, is to break down the food.
Function.
Their function. To break down the food, habo bekirbam, that comes into the stomach. Al yedei zeh sha'meichel mizbatel, interesting language here, v'nichna aleihem. Through the food becoming mizbatel, nullified, broken down, and surrendered, subdued to the organ of the digestive organs. Here, it's food. But what are we doing? So it makes a division between the inner nutrients and the more, we've come across this before, friends, in previous memorim, mufcher and the choice components of the food, separating that from the more external dimension of the food. Garua means less, inferior. Vadla psoilas, and even separating and producing psoilas, waste. The more elevated aspect of the food, the nutrients that's in the food, this becomes food and energy for the elevated components of the body. The less, what word did I use? More inferior relative to the more choice. That becomes the nourishment for the lower organs. And the separation happens to the degree that the psoiles, the waste, that is not worthy, doesn't contribute and give life even to the lowest and simplest limb and organ of the body, is expelled outside. In order for the digestive organs to do this and to divide and separate the different components of the food, so this is the role of the rakia within the person. This is the chatzar hakoved, again, whatever the term you used. Again, what? The lobe of the liver. That separates between the limbs, the digestive limbs, which are below it, the varyanishima, to the lungs, etc., which are above it. Now, key, because lulia hefsek the chatzar hakoved, without this part of the body that makes this division, the the parts of the body, the limbs of the body, the organs of the body that provide life, breath, they're not shaykh to food, to be able to break down food. They need it, but they can't break it down. V'adarab, food or drink that comes into the lungs is dangerous. If food and drink will go into the organs of the breathing, then the lungs, etc., this is sakona, dangerous. So in the same, let's get the flow. Let's get the flow here. Just like so, the evara nishima, the organs of breath, are not shaykhes to break the food down. Kach also, gam evara mishalamata mehem, the lower organs, lower than the stomach, the digestive organs, they too, the lower organs below, they can't break down the food either. You need the stomach, which is in between the higher and the lower. Huh? Following? You look puzzled.
I'll save it for after, I guess. I'm not understanding that how the mashal goes with the nimshal, but I guess we'll finish the mashal first.
Let's finish the mashal, yeah. Al-Chayidei, ha'tשכ v'ha'hevdel l'chatzar ha'koved. But through, so this is the Rikiya. The intermediary of the chatzar ha'koved, the lobe on the liver, hinei vorim sh'lamati mena yod madrigosam. So this causes the limbs below it, let's translate here, descend from the level ad she'yekhelim lekabel ha'meichel, that they can be able to receive the food. Let's read further and try and understand it. And after the food has been nullified to them, this is the stomach he's talking about. Now they can break it down. So let's read this again. So below the chatzar ha'koved, that is the organs of digestion. He seems to like he's implying there's like this evolution within the body, that the lower levels evolve from the higher levels. So the chatzara, the organs of breath, not shaykh to break down the food. They're above it. So you have the chatzar ha'koved that causes this h'tשכ, and that causes the stomach, as it were, to emerge, a lower kind of organ that can receive the food and break it down. Let's read further. So now the stomach can do its job, and that is to break the food down, or the various enzymes and acids and so on. And then to distribute it, to distribute it amongst the limbs of the body. Now, doesn't spell that out again, maybe. Yeah, he will. To the limbs above it and below. Right? So the higher organs get their nourishment and lower organs get their nourishment. And then to reject the waste outside. Okay. We'll stop here for Hainu, because this is where he's going to break this down, and then the parallel to the way
hello. One more line, because that's where he starts speaking about the mashal. So the
chatzar ha'koved is higher. This is the Rikiya. It's higher than the krovayim, the stomach, the innards that break the food down. And that's the h'tשכ between the higher organs and the lower organs. And then tomorrow with the Gemara L'mayla, maybe that will answer your question. What was your question?
We're trying to show how it's not really a halkus in there.
Right, no, that you should, that conclusion you should reserve to the end.
Okay.
I just gave a heads up. We see where we're going, but conclusion should not be taken too early in the discussion. Okay. So you're right. We have to wait a little bit further.